and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lauren if you're new here. If you're not new and you're returning, you're amazing. Thank you. Now, this palette has not been out for that long, but it just took a while to get here. We are talking about the Cosmic Brushes Wonderland palette today. I had to get this baby shipped to me all the way from the UK, so it took a little while to get in my hot little hands, but we have it. We're gonna do a review, we're gonna do swatches. I'm excited because let me show you what the inside looks like. Is this the perfect winter palette? I don't know yet. I don't know. Now, I actually just recently did a review of another one of Cosmic Brushes palettes, and I loved it. It was a great palette, but my success rate is not 100% with them. So we're gonna see if this one does as amazing of a job as the last one that we played with did. One thing I love about Cosmic Brushes is their prices. I mean, they're really, really good. I feel like prices these days are just kind of out of control. And this little guy only cost me $36, and it even has multi-chromes in it. So that's actually really amazing. So I'm gonna link it down below if you're curious. Again, it is in the UK, so you do have to pay for shipping, which does cost a little bit extra, but let's see if it's worth it. Let's get to some swatches. We're gonna do a look, and then we're also gonna play with their highlighter palette, which I also just picked up. It's their Frosting Highlighter Trio. And yeah, I thought like this would be a good time to pick it up. Might as well, right? So we're gonna play with this guy as well. And yeah, I'm excited because the swatches are pretty special. So let's get into them.
Okay, let's get into these swatches. I am very, very excited. We have Wonderland, Calm, Magical, oops, Comfort, Blanket, Cold, Breathe, Icicle, Snowfall. It's the one I'm probably the most excited for. Okay, I need to move my cup of tea, but look at that. This is Atmosphere. We have Winter Solstice. That's gorgeous. Here. Crisp. Oh, I already ruined the imprint. Peaceful. Oh, this one's not as pigmented as I was hoping. This is Reflection. Showers. Oh, which kind of looks black in the pan, but is an aqua green. Fresh Air. Chill. Clear Skies. In the Moment. And last but not least, Frost. So here's the whole palette swatched. Super pretty. Let's get into the look.
I feel like my arm is gonna be various shades of blue for a little while. Those swatches were pigmented for the most part. Not all of them. Some of them are a little bit lighter, but when they're pigmented, they're real pigmented. So we are just, I don't know, gonna dive head first into this. Now, I tend to like to go for, you know, corresponding colors. So all greens, all purples, all blues, but we wanna mix it up because we're only doing one look today. So I have to go into this turquoise, greeny, sea foamy green color. This is Peaceful. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that all over my upper eye. And I'm actually really excited for it because it's so pretty. Now, I know that I talked about my success rate with Cosmic Brushes. There's only been one palette of theirs that did not really work for me. I just had some issues with patchiness, with blending out, and it was a darker palette, and sometimes those palettes tend to be a little finicky. But there are other palettes that I've tried have been absolutely fantastic. So I think that was kind of a one-off. It's a very pretty, it's the Muse palette, if you know. And it's such a pretty color story, but it just is not a palette that really worked for me. It's one that I think I want to give one more chance before officially decluttering it, but we'll see. I might just declutter it. My declutters are coming up, by the way. Yes, my declutters are coming up. I have filmed one, and that was the easy one, which is foundations and concealers. Like, that's the easiest because it's probably the smallest out of all of the makeup categories that I have. Like, smallest amount is in those categories, which isn't saying a whole lot because some of the other ones are quite large. Okay, so we have to do a purple. Magical makes me a little bit nervous because when I swatched it, it just had a lot of fallout. It was very pigmented, but I do want to use it. But I think first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into cold, which is this purple here, and then we're going to go into magical. But let's start with going into cold. That's a really pretty purple. And so far, I mean, granted, I've only used 2 colors. They're working well, which is good. So in the Muse palette, I was having issues with the greens, which like kind of broke my heart because I love greens. And I unfortunately could not get them to work for me. A lot of the times, some of these eyeshadows are more like pressed pigment. So it's easier kind of to press them into your skin versus blending them out. You can blend a little bit, but I tend to like to just press them in if they're like super pigmented. That's a really pretty purple. This is just a color story that I saw and I was like, this is right up my alley. And the thing that I hate about PR, which I don't get, maybe one day, which reminds me to say, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. But the one thing that bugs me about PR is some influencers get products so early. And by then, like, you know, as someone who also reviews makeup, it's like, there's been a plethora of reviews already. Now, that's not going to stop me from reviewing a product if it's something that I really want, but at times it has stopped me from buying a product because I don't love it enough, and I know there's already so many reviews out there that it just doesn't seem worth my time. If it was something special, magical, that I would use all the time, like in my free time, not just on camera, then I'd buy it. But it's kind of what I have to think about as a small, tiny channel on YouTube. Okay, yeah, so the color cold is definitely one that works better when you press it into the skin. And I've been having some roughness around my eyes lately, so I'm trying to take that into consideration as well. But even with that, I feel like this went on really nice. Okay, I do like that. So I know I said that we were gonna go into magical, so this dark purple here. We're gonna give it a try. I'm a little nervous because it is quite pigmented. Let me find a brush that I think would be good for this. Okay, so it's a little alarming when I pick it up on a brush and then tap the brush out. All the product kind of falls off the brush. So it's just very, this one in particular is just a little bit powdery, so just be careful with it. And I'm just adding it to the very end of my eye to deepen up that purple, which is exactly what it's doing. And I do not want to go in that much with it because I think we've talked about this before, but I tend not to like super dark colors, particularly on me because they age me so much. If I do a dark, deep, smoky eye, it's gonna make me look probably a good 10 years older than I am. So I try to avoid going too dark with my looks. Every once in a while, I'll do like a really green grungy look, which I do really like, but even then, I've got to be careful with the darker colors. Okay, I brought it out a little bit on this side. Let me bring it out a little bit on the other side as well. So it's just a very pigmented color, so you just have to be careful when you place it, but I'm actually surprised. I was expecting just kind of like a ton of fallout with that color, and I don't actually see a ton of fallout with that color. I also feel like my eyes have gotten more hooded as I've gotten older. Is that weird? That happens, right? Because like this one in particular is just looking a little bit too low, like the purple color. So let me go back in with Cold, and I'm just going to put it a little bit higher. So I do really want to go into, oh, so many of them, so many of them. Aha, we're only doing one look today. Maybe I'll have to do another look in a short with this palette because it's so pretty. But I just wanted to do something quick and easy today. Anytime you're working with darker colors, it's never going to be quick and easy. At least for me, I try to be very careful so I don't get them all over my face. Let's go into Comfort right here. I'm going to put that one on my finger. Knock a bunch of stuff off my desk and put it here. Okay, this one has very little base pigment to it. So I lied. I'm actually now going to go into, Frost. I'm going to put that on the inside of my eyes. Again, I'm just going to use my finger for this. This one's also very pale, but a little more pigment to it. And I was debating whether or not to go into this one, but I have to. We're going to go into Reflection. I'm going to just stick that one right in the middle of my eye. And that one I was a little bit surprised with when I swatched it because I expected it to have more pigment and it doesn't seem to have as dark of a base as I thought it would have. See? It's there, but not quite as dark. Okay, bring out my finger again. Okay, and next I want to go into Icicle, which is this pretty light blue, and I'm going to put that underneath my waterline. Kind of using it to also soften the edges of that really deep purple. The deep purple is just very soft, so having a little bit of issue with it. And last, I really want to go into one of the multi-chromes, so we're going to go into Winter Solstice here. And I'm just going to put that in the very corner of my eye. Okay, I'm going to put on some eyeliner and some mascara to finish off the look because I don't know how I feel about it right now. And I know my feelings will change once I have some mascara and eyeliner on. Let me put that on and then we'll come back here. Okay, this is the final eye look. What do we think? We'll talk about my final thoughts after we get into the highlighter. I just want to throw this on really fast because it's blue. I love a colored highlighter, but we're going to use Blueberry Muffin, which has a blue shift to it. And now I finally feel ready for winter. Is it winter yet? When does winter officially start? It's already December. It has to start now or soon. I don't know, I live in California and seasons are kind of a fantasy sometimes. They don't really exist here. But now that I have the look completed, I think we should talk about these products. You know, specifically, we were really here to check out the Winter Wonderland palette from Cosmic Brushes, and we checked it out, and I do have some thoughts. This is really a winter palette. It's got these very beautiful, woo, don't drop it, winter colors. It definitely exudes winter to me. Putting it on my face, like, I'm not really a winter girl. I'm definitely more an ocean girl, and it gives me the ocean girl vibes, you know? Does that make sense? Does that sound weird? No, that makes sense, right? Now, it's interesting all the different kinds of formulas that are used in here because you have some that are just super pigmented, like the color Magical, holy moly. That one is almost like too pigmented to use because it's very, very soft and it wants to move on your face even after you place it. So This one definitely requires quite a bit of setting spray just to make sure that it doesn't move throughout the day, because I guarantee you it wants to move. It really does. But then you have some of the lighter colors like Peaceful, Icicle. Those are definitely much lighter, but they went on really, really well. Some of the more pigmented ones, just a little concerned about. I would say Clear Skies probably falls into that category as well as Showers does, which I really do want to use because it's like a dark, muddy aqua, which I love, but you know, we'll save that for another video. The shimmers were kind of a mixed bag. Now, I will always say I wish there were more shimmers in palettes. And in this one, I really do wish there were a couple more shimmers. That's just a personal preference though. I like more shimmers. And I just don't think I loved the ones that are in here. I think my biggest problem is they were lacking a lot of base color for the most part. The exception is this multi-chrome here, Atmosphere, which when we swatched it, we saw what a dark pigmented color that was. But all the other shimmers that we use, we went into Comfort, and that one is very, very light. Frost, which actually does have a good blue base to it, so that one's not as bad and see-through, but like with Reflection, I just wish there was a darker, more pigmented base to it so that it came on looking more like it does in the pan. It looks just a little bit lighter on my eyes because you can see through those pigments. There's just not really a strong base to it. So that was a little bit disappointing. Winter Solstice is the other multi-chrome. Used it in the corner of my eye. It's very pretty, but it's kind of your standard multi-chrome. I think if there is a standard multi-chrome at this point, I think this one would be in it. But it does have this beautiful green shift that I'm like seeing. I'm not sure if you're seeing it on camera. But I don't see that shift on my eyes necessarily. It looks more orangey pink on my eyes. But it's one I'll definitely be playing around with more. Like, it's a good topper to use on any of the mattes, I would say. But it'd have to be a darker matte, obviously, to really get the full force of it. I thought Cold was a beautiful color. I thought it went on really well. It blended out really well. It was a great purple. And I didn't really have any issues with any of the mattes, like, with the exception being the really, really dark one that we used today. But yeah, I just wish that with the shimmers, there was just a little more color to them. They went on very nicely, but I do think I can see them benefiting from using some glitter glue. Definitely with the multi-chromes, you're gonna wanna use some sort of glitter glue to really get the full impacts. But yeah, I'd say with like Reflection, I think that would have benefited from using a glitter glue as well. In terms of fallout, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I thought there'd be a lot more, especially seeing how soft Magical was. But the fallout actually was not bad. So yay to that. There's a little bit. It's not non-existent. There's a little bit, but it's really not bad for what it could have been. Really fast, we'll just talk about the highlighter palette, the Frosting palette. I will say that I was surprised in Blueberry Muffin because it seems like the shimmers in there are chunkier than I thought they would be. Like in here in the pan, they don't look super chunky on my cheek. You can definitely see the individual glitters. Even using my finger, they're pretty large. Woo! Okay, I really just amped that up. So now I have to do the other side, obviously. That's a look. That's a Blueberry Muffin look for sure. I'm going very blue today. I am excited to use Cinnamon Swirl and Golden Apple to check them out. But I mean, that's not super unusual when you're dealing with highlighters that have some sort of color to them. They tend to be a little bit chunkier in their shimmers, so pretty normal, but it just didn't look like that in the pan. So I was a little surprised putting it on my face. Either way, I'm definitely gonna get a lot of use out of this because I really like playing with colored highlighters, especially if I'm at home, if I'm just working, you know, I don't have any plans to film anything. I'll like stick a colored highlighter on my face just for fun. Overall, for $36, I do think the Winter Wonderland is a fantabulous palette. I do, especially at that price point, especially since you have two really nice multi-chromes in here as well. And again, the mattes work really, really well. I'm just a little bit disappointed with the shimmers. They're just a little bit lackluster for what I prefer. But it might be right up your alley if you're looking for something that's a little more almost topperish versus something heavily pigmented, which is what I tend to go for in my shimmers. So overall, it's pretty. I know I'm definitely gonna get a lot of use out of it. I really like this color Peaceful. I thought that was really beautiful. And I just need to play with Reflection more. I think I was so pumped on that color and it just didn't give me the oomph that I really like out of my pigmented shadows. So it's something that I'll definitely be playing with more just to get a better idea. This is just a first impression. There's only so much we can say. I like it, I don't love it. The last palette, which I'll link up the review here so you can see. But the last palette was phenomenal. And why do I keep blanking on the name? My gosh, I am not a morning person. We're filming this in the morning. But I'll put the name down here. That palette was amazing, amazing. This one is good, but it's just not great. And I know they can do great. So I didn't have any issues with patchiness though, which was good. Everything went on very smoothly. So overall, I do like it better than the Muse palette. I didn't have the same issues at all. It's just kind of, I think, learning to play with it a little bit more and just learning how all the different colors work, because there's quite a few different levels of pigmentation here. So I'm just going to play with it more, which I will definitely do in the winter because it's very winter themed. It's very on theme. Whew, so that was my overall thoughts on the palette. I would love to hear yours. Did you pick it up? Are you going to pick it up? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it not for you? I tend not to go for things that have this much blue in them, but I did like the disbursement of kind of greens and purples and blues. It evens it out enough where that I don't have to call it a blue palette, because blue palettes tend not necessarily be my thing, but I did like the color story in this. So let me know your opinions. I would love to hear from you. I'm gonna go. I think we need to go to the pet store to get more kitty food. Stay tuned because I definitely have my declutters coming up, so I know you'll want to watch those. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye!